Are you recording? You are recording. Welcome to another episode of Brew from the Bothy podcast, all about crochet and knitting and crafty fibrous goodness and my general shenanigans, what I've been up to in the last 2 weeks. I turn up every 2 weeks, every other Wednesday at 1 o'clock, so thank you so much for joining me and being part of this lovely community. I am so much better. I thank you so much for all your well wishes after the last podcast. I was so poorly. Lots of people have had the same thing, and I didn't test for COVID, but it was either the new strain of COVID or it was just a really bad flu. But I was properly poorly for a good couple of weeks. I'm kind of just coming out of the other end of it now, but my energy levels are back up, which is always where I like to be. Hello, I hope you're all really well. I am, as I said, I am now better, so the smiles are like doubly so, which is good. Slurping coffee today, slurp. And I've got quite a lot of stuff to tell you about. I have been away down at the John Arbon Textiles Mill Open weekend. I go and help them, and I give like additional staffing support to them for shows because I know their yarn inside out and I can talk about knit and crochet, so I'm quite a helpful person for them to have on their stand, and I'm bubbly and friendly and I can do the customer service bit. So I usually do Wonderful Wales, their Mill Open weekend, and yarn deal with them as well. And so I'm just fresh back from that late on Sunday night, and I had an absolute ball, and I'll tell you more about it in a minute. But not what am I wearing, because it's too hot. We're going to get to 24 or 25 degrees today, so I'm definitely in like linen, not wool. And I know wool keeps you cool, but it's a linen day. So not what am I wearing, but what did I get back from the mill is my Crochet by Numbers blanket. They've had this for a little while and I got it back from them. It uses their knit by numbers, hence crochet by numbers for the pattern name, in their mini skein, so you can get this beautiful gradient coming out. And it's a blend of 50% British Blueface Leicester and 50% Falklands Merino. So it's super soft but also really hard wearing. And this was originally in Inside Crochet, but I've got the rights back, so I'll pop a link into it. But you can do it as a cot size or this quite large size. Let's show it off to its full glory. I could do one of those things where it unwraps, but frankly, I'm not that glamorous, or it just wouldn't work for me. So this beauty, that might have to be the thumbnail. This beauty is Crochet by Numbers, and I really love it. I was channeling, it was for Inside Crochet's issue that was called Colour Pop, and this is, for me, this, I know it's muted and it's not like bright and neons, but for me these are like my pops of colour. They really reminded me of slightly mid-century modern colours, but also a little bit Spice Market. I absolutely love this blanket, and I didn't expect to get it back, so I am so pleased to have this back ready for this winter. It is it's heavy duty because each of the hexagons, which are made up individually, I was making this last summer, so I was really pleased that they were individual. They all use little puff stitches, so it's lovely and heavy without being like really super dense, but you get this beautiful like floral pattern that comes off them. I'm really proud of this blanket, and I suspect it will be a good seller this winter. It gets lots of hits on Pinterest, like for my level of pinning and what I do, and this gets a lot of love, so I won't be surprised if this is a good seller this winter. Love it. Crochet by Numbers blanket back in my home, ready to keep me, Matthew, and a certain black cat called Pom Pom lovely and snuggly throughout the winter. Sometimes samples come back and we have a double bed in our spare room, which I purposefully bought. It's one of those that you can kind of push up the divan part of it, and it's got all the storage underneath. And that one is absolutely full of samples. So some things go straight to samples, not because I don't want to wear them, but I've got so many samples. I'm actually contemplating maybe doing a sample sale. And then some things are not destined to go into the spare double bed storage. This is one of them. This is staying out. Crochet by Numbers really needs to stay out and have its glory day somewhere in our house. So not wearing it, but showing it off as a little bit of crochet. So I was at the mill open weekend working. It was so busy. It was really busy. I managed to nibble like half of my sandwich from about 2 o'clock onwards, and I got the other half of my sandwich at 5 o'clock. It was that busy, but like not people, not rammed so you couldn't see around, but just chatting with people, having really good engagement. It was fantastic. So if any of you were there, and I would suspect some of you were, hello, it was so nice to meet you all. I met Jane from Stitches and Cream Yarn Shop in Falmouth, and I didn't know at the time, but her son Anton was there from the Raw Wool Company. Marie was there. There were just so many people. It was lovely to be able to get some time chatting with people about crochet and knitting. And I was also part of a designer panel for knitwear and crochet wear, which was really good. It was an hour-long panel about our design process, about how we approach photography, what we do with our inevitable stashes that we have at the end of it, at the end of projects. So that was recorded, and I will give you a heads up in the Brew from the Bothy podcast when that goes live. Usually the turnaround, because there are quite a few throughout the weekend, quite a few panels and workshops, usually the turnaround time is about 3 months. So as soon as that is live, I will let you know about it, so you can go and have a look at how the processes from 4 different designers completely differ, how we approach things, and what our inspiration points are. So I'll send that over to you. Now, if you didn't make it to the open weekend, the mill open weekend, which most of you won't have done because it's in Devon, and I know that lots of you are from all over the world, but they also run a virtual mill open weekend, which is open to anybody globally. They run sets of workshops and talks, and this year it's on the 5th and 6th of July. I'll be dipping in and out of bits and pieces because it's really interesting stuff. I'll pop a link in the drop down where you can find all of the details for the virtual mill open weekend. But they have so many interesting people coming in to do bits and pieces. It's got a real chilled out party vibe. It's good fun. They put so much effort into the virtual mill open weekend and making sure that it's open to everybody across the globe. So if you're about on the 5th and 6th of July and you want to have a look at what their different options are for workshops and for panels, then have a look, because yeah, there's all sorts in there. It's really good fun. And I think they are doing a crafting session again, which will be good fun. You can sit and craft, and hopefully I'll be in that one as well. That is it, I think, for John Arbon Textiles and Mill Open Weekend. I did buy some stuff at the Mill Open Weekend. I was so good. I waited until late on the Sunday afternoon, and then I succumbed. And you'll see why when I get into that portion of the podcast, but I eventually succumbed and had to buy this one skein of yarn that was just like, I need to be yours, I need to come home with you. And so it did. Right. Slurp. Let me show you what I've been working on. Now, it might not look like I've put loads into this since I showed it to you 2 weeks ago, but this is the Cardigan, which is going into the Journal of Scottish Yarns, and I have now completed. I'm going to try and do this so I can still fit in with the microphone. Let's pull you forward a little bit. Hopefully that doesn't make a horrible noise. The sleeve is completed, but the way that you construct kin is that you do the sewing up at the end and then use that for the cuff bit. That's how I'm doing it in the cardigan. And what I've been working on is how far forward the actual cardigan comes with these decreases coming down, because I want it to waterfall. So this is exactly what I'm after, is for it to waterfall down. Let me show you at the front here. So I'm not doing any increases down here, but just by decreasing here, it basically falls forward, and that's what creates the waterfall effect. So I need to get the balance right, which allows this to still stay structured and not just fall right the way to the back of the wearer's hips, but get the fall enough so that it's not too tight up on the neck, because there's still some ribbing to add in here, but also to not have it so that it's so heavy that it wants to flip over to the wrong side. Now, the wrong side looks okay, but this cardigan is all about the right side. The pattern in it, everything, all the detailing is on the right side of the work. So I am sorting those bits out at the moment, and I've just been doing some little trials on what I think the ribbing wants to look like, and whether I start it on this side and go halfway round up to the back of the neck and then do the same on the left sleeve and come up to the back, or do I just start at the right and come all the way around the back and all the way down to the front on the other side. So I'm at that point where I'm just trialing those elements to see what will work, because I feel like I've now got this bit right, that I've done enough decreases and I've come far enough over to the opposite side of the body so that the cardigan will lay. Deadline for me for this is the beginning of July, and that's for me to have the pattern completely written up, graded out, ready to go, and for the sample to have been sent off. So I'm probably going to be really going for this throughout the rest of June to get this done. Whilst it looks like it's a really simple, it's in a quite a light DK, it's 280 meters per 100 grams roughly. So on face value, it should be a really quick thing to do, but actually there's a lot of thought process going into the back of it to make sure that it flows and it drapes and it works properly, and that it comes off the back of the neck properly, and we don't end up with like bumfling, is that word? Kind of is, I don't know what else you would say, like crushing up at the neck. So I'm at that point where there's a lot of thinking, trial, error, try again, and that's a lot of what the design process is. You have to just keep on seeing if something works and being prepared for it to completely not work, and then to rip it out and go again. So I'm at that stage. But King Cardigan, most likely, do I sign up to this? I most likely will have this done in 2 weeks' time, and I might be wearing it because lovely Susan at Journal of Scottish Yarns has said that I can share my whole process with you, so I don't see that she would have any problem with me showing you the finished object at the very end of it. So in 2 weeks' time, I should have a completely finished King Cardigan, wearing it if it's not too hot. We'll see. But I'm very pleased with the process and how it's working up. It definitely helps that I had already designed the jumper, so I knew what the grading was for the arms, so that's really sped up the process of it. But there's still been a lot of changes to particularly the front end of it, so it's not a complete rerun of the Kin jumper. I also, I think I might want to work on another cardigan almost straight away. After Positivity Spiral jumper is out, I have an idea of using the same stitch pattern from my One Way or Another neckties and cowl, because I just think if you held 2 strands of floof double, or did a lace weight and a strand of floof and made that into a lovely floaty lightweight cardigan, I just think it would look really nice. I'm not usually a cardigan person, but I'm getting there. I used to be, when I was younger, when I was in my 20s, I used to love like jeans, a nice little silk top and a cardigan, and I think I'm coming back into that space again. So yeah, there might be a few more cardigans coming out. We'll see. So what else has been going on? I have bought some yarn. We went down last week to go to a gig. We went to go and see Shane Smith and the Saints at the O2 Empire at Shepherd's Bush. If there are any Yellowstone fans out there, and I am like a huge Yellowstone fan, I have loved every episode, every moment of Yellowstone, feverishly, like, gobbled it all up, loved it. But there was one band in particular that they used a lot, and they had a live event with them on there, and it was just amazing. And it was Shane Smith and the Saints, and they came and did 2 nights in the UK last week. They did Glasgow at one of my favourite gig venues, and I really wish we'd gone there because I think it just rocked. The Ouija's really know how to dance and have a good time. And then the second night was in London, but that worked better for Matthew's work. So we went to see them. But also while I was down there, I went to see a yarn shop that I've not been to before. It's called Beautiful Knitters, and it's in Pimlico. So it's really easy to get to. Our train gets into Euston, so Pimlico is so unbelievably easy to get to from Euston. And I went there with purpose because I was thinking about the next big floof part of the blog post that I need to do on the mohair, and Beautiful Knitters have got Knitting for Olive, which I already can tell you is my favourite mohair silk floof. Of all the ones I'm working with, this is my absolute standout mohair floof that I am loving. And because Knitting for Olive have every single one of the colours, it meant that I knew I could go and get the exact same shade range for each of them. So this might look a little bit light right now. This is one of the Knitting for Olives with the John Arbon Textiles Devon Naturals that I'm pairing it with. But when I take a monochrome photo of these, they're actually well within the same shade range. So I was able to do that, let me just see, for each of the Devon Natural colours that I'm doing. And that is then lending itself to me understanding what happens when you change the shade range. That's the same cream on the same shade cream of floof. That's a little bit darker. You don't really see it. This is a bit darker, and I'm not sure if you can see it, but it kind of mottles, and it just looks a little bit dirty. That sounds good in a Scottish accent, doesn't it? Dirty. That looks dirty. And then when you start going up into darker again, you get this more mottled effect, but it's almost slightly more pleasing. And then let me get the right one. Really mottled. So it's just showing what happens when you move up and down the shade scale. So that's why I went to Beautiful Knitters, because I knew they would have the right shades that I needed across the 5 different shades of undyed yarn that I wanted to pair them up against. This might feel like absolute overkill for what it is that I'm doing with the floof blog post, but frankly, overkill is what I do. Like, I deep dive when other people might do like a surface level blog post or just a little bit of information or crib off of somebody else's information. That's not what I do. I am very willing to put the time in to understand what happens, how, where, when, and to pass that information on to you so that you have it and you can learn from what it is that I'm doing. And I'll give you a for instance of a deep dive. So this is the darkest of the Devon Naturals, and I've put it up against the lightest of the Knitting for Olive mohair. And the mottling is quite full on. Like, from a distance, it doesn't look that mottled, but when you see it up close, it really does. And I was wondering if there's a way of reducing that mottling in any way. So I did another sample where I actually wound the two together. Up to that point, I'd been keeping 2 balls separate just to see what that did. And then I tried one where I had wound the 2 together, so there was a bit of loose plying that was going on between the 2 strands. And this was the result of that one. And I think it's ever so slightly better, but I don't think by much. But one of the things that does happen, you can see this one here, which is on my left, which will be on your right, I think, because it doesn't mirror image, is darker. So if you wanted your floof colour to be more represented in the sample, then holding the 2 strands together would do that. And if you don't, then you get more, it kind of sits back in the mix a little bit more. I need to do more on this because I think there is probably a way of reducing the mottling, but I think it's to do with the ratio presence of the mohair strands and evening out the colours, so it's a bit more 50-50. There's more work to be done on this, but that is the deep dive that I'm willing to do. And one of the things I think happens when people start holding yarns double is that it becomes a bit scary, because it's quite difficult to understand what weight of yarn it is that you're creating. There's some maths that you can do behind it that makes it easier, but if you're not good with numbers and maths, that's really quite daunting. So Matthew and I were walking around the village last night. I was trying to get my 10,000 steps in, and we were talking about there's a piece of software, AI software, that allows you to create other AI software, and it's called Replit, I think. And Matthew's been playing with it as a quick way to build a website, build apps, build tutorials that are behind a paywall. So he's doing a lot of deep dive into that. We both love a deep dive. And I was quizzing him, saying, could we put into Replit a way of working out all the maths behind it and having it embedded in my wordpress.com website, so that people could literally put in the 2 strands or 3 strands or however many strands they're pulling together, and it would spit out what the meterage or yards are per 100 grams. He was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure we can do that in Replit, but as ever with AI, it's whatever you ask. You have to ask the smart questions to get the smart answer out of AI. And I was like, oh, that could be really interesting. So watch this space, and possibly through this summer I might get Matthew onto it to help me to build that within Replit, so that embedded in my website is a calculator where you could just input all of your numbers and it will spit out what your 2 strands together would actually mean in terms of yarn weight. And if we can conquer that, then I've got a couple of other things I think would be really helpful for the yarn community, where you can just put in information, it will spit out the answer. I won't talk about the other bits yet, but I'm going to start with the yarn being held double, see how that goes, and then go from there. I think it would be really helpful, especially if it will do the calculation for 3 strands together of completely different weights of yarn, because it's not that easy to work out. Watch this space, like, fingers crossed, I think we can make it happen. But we'll be definitely calling in Matthew, who is my IT support unit for FDH Designs. He's pretty good at the IT stuff, so yeah, hopefully we can crack this and make it work. So the big floof update continues. It's not going to be finished in this quarter. It won't be finished by the end of June, but I just keep on making the samples. I need to make them in crochet as well. But that feels like a summer job when I can sit outside in the sun and do all of that piece of work. But I have this massive bag which is just full of all those beautiful natural shades. I'll just keep on ploughing away with that. It's one that will be ready when it's ready. It's an awful lot of work, and it's going to be split into multiple blog posts, not just one big one, because it would basically be a thesis by the time I finished. I also wanted to share with you then, my final bit is what's been incoming. I completely forgot to tell you about a couple of things that I bought 2 weeks ago because I was so poorly. I left them over there, and after I finished recording the podcast, I walked past them and went, oh well, never mind. When I was at the River Knits open day, I got a book called Crochet Secrets, and it's by the naughty boss Anna Lezina, and it's over 100 tips and tricks to improve your crochet. I'm a big fan of accepting the fact that I don't know everything, and I'm a big fan of learning from other people and seeing how they do techniques and bits and pieces to make their crochet more seamless and more flawless and more refined. And whilst an awful lot of stuff in here I do know and I do practice on a daily basis within my crochet, I know there are nuggets and gems in here for changing colours, for all sorts of bits and pieces that I am very happy to learn from. So if you're looking for a really decent book, I think this was $15.99. I bought it from Sharon at Dragon Hill Studio. I'll pop a link in for Sharon into the drop down. If you're looking for a book that is a really good little go-to reference on how you can up your crochet skills, give this a whirl. I think it's really quite decent, actually. I don't buy loads of crochet skills books, and I bought this one. I don't know if that means it's good or bad, but I really like the way it was laid out. The photos are good, the instructions are good. It's just really nicely done, and it goes through all sorts of stuff. Let's just see if I can get a bit of a sort of rundown. Yeah, it gets split down to like yarn, starting knots, secrets of amigurumi, colour without commitment. There's just all sorts. Working with colours, one of the sections. This one is all refining the rounds. Really good little book to have in your library. And to bring balance to the proceedings, I also bought a knitting book. This was also at the River Knits open weekend, but this one came from Rachel at Daughter of a Shepherd. Again, I'll pop a link in. It's all about summer knits, and I just thought this was amazing value for money. It's a Cozy Publishing publication. The designer is Sari Norderland, which if you're into your knitwear, you will have come across her patterns before. But I just thought it was really good value for money. I loved the size diversity of the models in there. The sizing is good. They go up to 9 sizes. But it's absolutely chock-a-block full of really beautiful patterns. Little scarves, gorgeous jumpers, lots of little vest tops that you could just as easily do in linen or cotton, but I think also you could pull into wool for your winter wardrobe. And I wasn't intending on buying another book because I have quite a lot of pattern books for crochet and for knitwear, but I couldn't say no to this one because I continue to create my own handmade wardrobe for knitwear and crochet. So if you're looking for what I think is a really good book, it was £29, which on face value is quite a lot for a book, but it is absolutely jam-packed full of patterns, and I think they're really beautiful patterns as well. You know, sometimes you get a book and you're like, ow, there's maybe 2 out of 12 that I would make. This has got 6 and 9, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 patterns in one book, and they are all very, very wearable. So, if you're looking for a lovely book, a little present, Summer Knits, Cozy Publishing, Sari Nordland, definitely recommend. I will be making something for this. You know me, I'll make it for the summer, and then it'll be like August, winter time before I actually get it finished. Would you like to see some yarn? Because I am floof obsessed at the moment, when I was at River Knits again, I was looking at Ishrat's stall. Ishrat is Fruitful Fusion, and Ishrat does lovely colours, really like them. This floof is a bit different. Look at those little dots of neon tweed in there. I did get another tweedy one when I bought all the stuff for the blog post, but it's not like this. It's not hand-dyed floofy tweediness. This one is called Iced Tea, and it is 42% merino, 32% alpaca, 18% Donegal, which are the little neps, the Donegal neps, that's what they are. And then 8% linen, and it's a lace weight, it's a 4-ply at 400 meters for 100 grams. So I thought it was just a different blend for my big floof test, but also it's 4-ply. So a little bit more interesting than some of the other floofs that I'm looking at, but the fact that it's high up on the merino content I thought was quite interesting. But really, I just couldn't get beyond the neon neps. Ishrat had a couple of colours in this, and this is the one that really spoke to me and was shouting buy me, so I did. I think I might make a cowl out of it, like a super floofy cowl, but I might try doing it striped with something else. I don't know. It just had to come home with me. Loved it. It's the blips of neon that did it for me. As much as I'm a neutrals girl, every now and then something that is a little bit out there just catches my eye, and I have to have it. 2 more bits of yarn and then I'm done. At the John Arbon Mill Open weekend, one of the things that they do is they ask indie dyers that work on their bases to dye up specials for the Mill Open weekend, and I really love the colourways that Charlotte at Nervus Fibre does. And this one is no exception. It's called Tiptoe, and it's on their Exmoor sock fingering, and it just is pretty much undyed, but it has these absolute blips of rust in there. Like, it just makes me think of rusty old ships in the sea or rusty old railings at the seaside. I love this, and like I said earlier on in the podcast, I tried everything in my power to not buy yarn this weekend from the Mill Open weekend. I was there to work, and then it got to Sunday afternoon and everything had eased off a little bit, and off I went and bought this instead. So I think that some of whatever is left might be available during the virtual Mill Open weekend. Don't quote me on that. I think that's what happens. So I will provide that link to the virtual Mill Open weekend, but I'll also pop a link in for Charlotte's website. Is this a spoiler? I probably shouldn't say where it's going. I'm going to be working with Charlotte's yarn again for another commission, so I will be talking about that in the next 6 months or so. Her colours are beautiful, a little like they're colourful but subdued. They're just in my wheelhouse. If you like my colour palette, I think you'll really like Charlotte's colours as well, and she uses some really beautiful bases. This is destined to be a pair of ribbed socks, but I think what I'm actually going to do is record the making of them and have some tutorials up for just basic sock patterns, really quick, snappy tutorials that will go up onto YouTube for how you can make ribbed socks out of them. And then I will have some left because this will only take up about 65 grams of the skein. So I also got from John Arbon Textiles their Exmoor sock because it's kind of the same colour and the two will go really well. So then what I will also do is probably make a pair of shorty trainer socks, but showing how you can do colour stripes between the two, which will use up probably every last bit of my Nervus Fibres yarn and a good deal of my Exmoor sock, because that's a 50 gram skein. And between the two I will get a couple of pairs of socks, but they are essentially on the same yarn base. It's John Arbon Textiles Exmoor sock yarn base, which is 60% Exmoor Blueface, so slightly sturdier, more durable wool than just Blueface Leicester because it's a crossbreed. And then 20% Cordial, so softy soft, that's almost like a merino. 10% Svartblaze, hard wearing, gives a darkness to the yarn. And 10% nylon, which is, you want nylon or silk or bamboo, something in there to give some durability to the actual yarn itself. And I love that Exmoor sock is only 10% nylon, and this is some of the best sock yarn on the market. It works up beautifully, it's really hard wearing. My friend Sam makes socks all the time. Sam is on her feet all day long, she does physiotherapy, and this is, having tasted many different socks from around the world, many sock yarns from around the world, this is Sam's favourite sock yarn because it's hard wearing and it's comfortable and it's warm in her boots when she's out doing her job. So take it not just from me, but somebody who wears hand knitted socks all year round, that this is a really good sock yarn to try. I also know that it makes beautiful crocheted socks as well. So not just knitted, but also crocheted socks. That is it. That is all of my incoming. It's quite a lot. It is quite a lot, but I love it. This is my thing. This is what makes me happy and tops me up. All the yarny goodness, which is just, it's beautiful to work with. I think we are done. I think we are podcast out. I'm so glad that I feel better. It's been a bit hellish, to be honest. So I'm so pleased that my energy levels are coming back up and that the sun is shining and all is good. I hope all is well for you. Also, until 2 weeks' time, have an amazing couple of weeks, everybody. Nice to see you, and I am waving.